I'm wondering what your risk assessment kind of strategy is, how it's changed over the last couple decades, and maybe kind of who your mentors are in that, or if there are any, or if you're, studying risk assessment. I know it's a big deal in other sports, you know, pilots,
Yeah.
kayaking, what
So,
have you.
so I've never explicitly
Thanks.
studied risk assessment. I don't technically know anything about it, um, from a education standpoint. Though I have had, countless conversations with people like Tommy Caldwell, other climbers, peers, and I mean, and even conversations like this. I mean, basically, climbers talk about risk and managing risk all the time because it's such an important part of the sport. I mean, it's sort of at the core of climbing is how do you manage the risk associated with it. You know, I don't know, what was the first half of the question? Like, oh, how's my process changed over time? Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe my biggest development has been sort of accepting. I don't know. I think as I've gotten older, I've sort of accepted that even though something might feel like 100%, realistically, it's never 100%. There's just always. I mean, I've just seen too many friends have terrible accidents, too many unfortunate things happen in the mountains, and so I've kind of realized that even if something feels 100, I mean, it never actually is 100, and and in a lot of ways, I've actually really limited my easy soloing now because I feel like that's kind of where I'm rolling the dice the most. When I was younger, I had a lot of kind of high mileage days where I was going out and climbing things that were physically easy, but tons and tons of them, like say 50 routes in a day or something. And I think that was a really important way for me to sort of build my base and to feel comfortable soloing and to grow as a climber. But I pretty much don't do that at all anymore because I recognize that even if it's an easy route and I feel totally fine on it, there is a slight chance that something's just randomly going to break or something random is going to happen. Just because I basically know many people who have had accidents like that, and you're like, well. So I mean, I guess that yeah, I'm a little more conservative over time, which is ironic because you watch the film Free Solo and you're like, oh, that guy's crazy. But in a lot of ways, that actually represents me reining it in quite a bit because I trained for 2 years to do one climb that I really cared about, as opposed to just going for it. I mean, had I just not really cared about it, I could have just tried on day one. It probably would have worked out. Probably 85% chance would have worked out fine, and there wouldn't be a movie. But instead, I wanted to get to 100, so I spent 2 years working on it, and and it's funny because people watch free solo and they're like, oh, so much free soloing. But I mean, that's 2 years of climbing, and I did, what, maybe 4 or 5 free solos in the film, culminating with El Cap, which was obviously really important to me. But I did, maybe 6 or 7 days of free soloing mixed, interspersed throughout 2 years of training. So, I mean, the ratio is pretty good.